Thanks for coming. Breshut Ma'ar De'atra, Chazaq U'Baruch, for inviting me. In Parashat HaShavua, Parashat HaShavua Shavar, all these parashiyot now are dealing with building of the Mishkan. We can learn wonderful things. But I'd like to start with a simple question. When you learn the parasha, you learned the parasha last week and this week. He's talking about Betzalel. And when Torah speaks about Betzalel, it mentions over and over again how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu filled him up with wisdom. The person was extremely genius. Who gave him all this? It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah says, ואמר משה לבני ישראל, הוא קרא אדוני בשם בצלאל בן אורי בן חור למטה יהודה, הקדוש ברוך הוא called in his name, וימלא אותו רוח אלוהים בחוכמה, בתבונה ובדעת ובכל מלאכה. Unbelievable. הקדוש ברוך הוא filled him up. וימלא אותו. It's not a random person that's filling up. It's הקדוש ברוך הוא. He filled him up. You know that they say that we use only a very small percentage of our brain. Our brain is fascinating. Imagine the brain of Betzalel, ben Uri, ben Hur, that was not only a regular person. The Gemara says that you give chokhmah to hakimin, to those that are wise, which means he was already in those that were smarter, with a high IQ, as we call it. But not only that, the Kadosh Baruch Hu even filled him up with more wisdom. וימלא אותו רוח אלוקים בחוכמה. He gives them up wisdom, בתבונה. חוכמה, בינה ודעת. What's the difference? Rashi explains. What's חוכמה? חוכמה means information. You can know a lot of things. That's חוכמה. בינה means to understand דבר מתוך דבר, which means you see something and you already understand what's behind the scene. What it comes to represent, what does it come to teach you, all kind of different wisdoms that you yourself bring out from your understanding. And then there's something called da'at. Da'at is Ruach HaKodesh. That's Ruach Elokim. The way the Ramchal explains it is that that's beyond all the steps of reaching out. It's in Mesilat Yesharim. Reaching out, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All the steps, the final step is Ruach HaKodesh. That's the thing that we're talking about over here. Chokhmah, Binah, V'da'at. Da'at, Ruach HaKodesh. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you a certain wisdom. The Or LeTzion explains in the Sefer of the Musar, he explains that that's beyond Nevuah. Nevuah is just something that you receive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, information of what's going to be either in the future or some things and messages that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you. Ruach HaKodesh is already giving you understanding in everything. That's why you see that the big Talmidei Chachamim, the Gdolei Ador, you go to Rav Chaim Kanievsky, he sees through you. He sees things that nobody else can see. He can tell you what's going to happen. And surprisingly, you see, people today, it's easy to see. They tape him, and he says something, and then shortly afterwards, sure enough, everything that he says, boom, to the point. We've seen this in great Talmidei Chachamim, in great Gedolim, in the past, and in the future. We all know the miracles that the Baba Sali did, Chazon Ish, it's all known to everybody. So this is what Betzalel was filled with. חוכמה, בינה ודעת, ובכל מלאכה. ולחשוב מחשבות. Whatever that means, לחשוב מחשבות. He can think thoughts. Whatever you want to learn, this means. לעשות, בזהב, בכסף, בנחושת, בחרושת אבן, למלות, and so on and so forth, ולהורות נתן בליבו. Not only that, להורות נתן בליבו. He knows how to be more. He knows how to direct, how to say things to others, and it would be exactly what needs to be done. לעשות בכל מלאכת מחשבת, להורות נתן בליבו ובעליו בן אחיסמך, and it's not only him. מילא אותם חוכמת לב, לעשות כל מלאכת חרש, and there was a lot of people that helped out in the process. ועצה בצלאל ועלייה וכל איש חכם לב, אשר נתן אדוני חוכמה ותבונה בהם על הדעת, לעשות כל מלאכת עבודת הקודש לכל אשר ציווה אדוני. Unbelievable, the Torah keeps on going with that. It doesn't end over here. And it's not the only parasha. We see that it keeps on repeating the wisdom that Betzalel received. ויעשו כל חכם לב בעושי המלאכה את המשכן. And they did. They used all this wisdom in order to build up the Mishkan. And I presented Shabbat in my shul the simple question, well, I don't understand. I really don't understand what's going on over here. Bezalel got so much wisdom, and the people that helped him out as well, to build what? The Mishkan. Now let's see, what did you need to know in order to build the Mishkan? So when you take a look at the parashiot of how to build the Mishkan, there's exact instruction that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says in the Torah how the Mishkan should be built. For example, ועשו, it's a parashat Truma, ועשו ארון עצי שיטים 200.5 אורכו. You put 200.5 אורכו, you cut. 1.5 רוחבו. This is to the width, this is to the length, this is to the height, exact measurements. And this is how everything else was. It's not only the Aron. You go to the next thing. ועשית שולחן, עצי שיטים. It tells you what material to use for the שולחן. 200 אורכו, how tall it should be. 100 רוחבו, 1.5 קומתו. The height, the width, the length, everything. What should be filled with? ציפית אותו זהב טהור. You take a layer of זהב, you put it around. For that you need so much chokhmah? That sounds to me like the same instructions that one would receive when he goes to IKEA, and you have over there, do it yourself. They tell you, take this, you put A, and you connect it to B, B to C, make sure to tie it here, make sure to screw it here, and you build yourself a nice table. What is it that you need so much wisdom to build something that the instructions are so simple? It's every kid over here can draw the table and to the length and the width and everything to the exact. And today I'm saying you go to and pick up a Spanish guy from the street and you want to build your house, you tell him exact instruction. I want you to put over here a piece of wood and another one over here, cut it at his measurement. He'll do everything that you need. So when he presented this question, somebody said, 1 minute, in order to build the menorah, you can't just build the menorah. You know, the menorah was a piece of gold. It's miksha. It's one piece, the menorah. And you had to cut it around. In order to leave the menorah, it had to be with all the different details, brachim, and so on. Everything over there, kaftor, vaperach, all was detailed. That's hard work. That is true. It is hard work. But this is art. It's not wisdom. When you go to, you go to the village, you'll find people that are doing art very well. You go to Tzfat, you know people that are doing art very well. They can do it. This is artwork, whether you have it or you don't have it. It's nothing to do with wisdom. So I need an understanding of what's going on over here in this parasha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to give them so much wisdom. And I think over here, the Torah teaches us something that really relates to many, many people, and they could really learn from here how the Torah, how much depth there is in the Torah. Because over here, there's no way to explain this unless you say, as the Gemara explains in Brachot Nun Hey, that Bezalel was such a person that knew how to connect the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu connected with the words that he created the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with otiyot, with letters. Now, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke out, a sun came out. He spoke, and a moon came out. He spoke, and the earth was created with water, and everything that's around it. How did everything was put there? HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to speak. Those otiyot שנבראו בהם שמיים וארץ, says the Gemara, ידע Bezalel knew how to do the same thing for the Mishkan. Which means, the Mishkan that we're seeing in front of us, it's way more than just those pieces of wood and the piece of gold and the piece of silver that you're seeing. That's only what we see in our eyes. But there's so much more in there, because when the Mishkan was built, it wasn't just about building the material, rather, Bezalel had to put in there an insight of otiyot שנבראו בהם שמיים וארץ. The Mishkan itself, as we all know, we wait for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring back the Beit HaMikdash. It's just not a building, just not a nice building. Rather, Beit HaMikdash was something that brought peace to the world. It brought a lot of shefa, a lot of good. It brought down from Shamayim. When Beit HaMikdash was in existence, the whole world was a different world. The Gemara in the end of Ketubot explains the fruits were much bigger and nicer and tastier. Everything was so much better. People were healthier, they lived longer, and so on and so forth. That was when Beit HaMikdash was there. Then it was destroyed. Once it was destroyed, everything, the whole world came down, few levels. And that is something that we see from our parashiyot. Bezalel wasn't just doing over here just melacha, some kind of work of a craftsman, of somebody that's a constructor that builds a house. No. That anybody can do. Anybody with good hands can put things together, cut it to the right size, and put it together. That's not, for that you don't need Bezalel. Bezalel put in there much more. And from here, we can learn that when we learn in the Torah something and we don't understand, sometimes we learn something we don't understand, it doesn't make sense to us. Why the Torah needs to say such a thing? Why does the Torah, it doesn't work, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't fit good with our heart, just doesn't sit well. We need to know and understand that there's much more depth into what the Torah says than what we read in the Torah. The Gemara Yerushalmi says in Pe'ah Aleph, the Mishnah, the Gemara says over there, Ki lo davar reku, on that pasuk, im reku mikem urek, which means if you see something in the Torah and you say, there's no meaning over here, I don't understand, doesn't make sense to me. If you feel that way, you need to know that it's not that the Torah is missing something. It's your understanding. It's your mind. You can't see what really is the depth behind those things. The Ben Ish Chai explains in a few places that when Chazal made gezerot in the Torah, those gezerot that Chazal made, they gave you an explanation. Sometimes those explanations, you see them and you say, you know what, they don't apply anymore. Why do I need to do that? Chalav Israel. You know what, why do I need to drink Chalav Israel? It's a gzerah that doesn't apply anymore. You know why? Because today, who's going to go? What was the whole gzerah about? That the goy would milk the cow, and afterwards he would add a little bit in order to fill up the bucket, add a little bit. The cow doesn't give enough. You have to fill out the bucket, so add a little bit chalav of something that's tameh, a milk from a non-kosher animal. So that was the gzerah. But today it doesn't apply. Today you go to places that they have cows. They don't work that way. Those cows, that milk that would come from something that's not kosher is much more expensive. Bri Chadash says such ideas. It's much more expensive. Doesn't apply. So therefore, why do we need to keep that? And many other gezerot that you say, you know what, it doesn't apply. You're not allowed to take on Shabbat medication. Why? Because Chazal said that you might come to grind all kind of different spices, and you make yourself the medication, you violate the Isur Torah of grinding, tochen, on Shabbat. That's not allowed. Today, anybody knows how to make medication. You go to your backyard, you take a few leaves, you should grind them, you put them in the pill, and you swallow it. Nobody does that. Nobody knows how to do it. You need to be a pharmacist to a little bit know what's inside the medication. You have a pill, you take it, goodbye. What's the problem with that? Chazal made the gzerah. Says the Ben Ish Chai, those reasoning that Chazal told us, it's only the surface reasoning, something that just to make us understand on the surface level. But the real reason, the more important reason is a depth reason that we don't understand. You want to understand? There's levels in the Torah. You have to learn those levels. There's pardes in the Torah. Pshat, remesh, drash, sod. We know, Chazal tell us only the pshat. The reason you can't take pills because you might be tochen, grind it and violate the Shabbat. But there's also remesh, drash, sod. The Ben Ish Chai knew Kabbalah. He knew that the reason behind everything is not only what Chazal told us. That's also something important to keep. But there's much more depth to it. And that takes us to what we want to speak about today. When we speak about choosing a rabbi, what's a rabbi? What is a rabbi? People have a misconception about a rabbi because they feel that a rabbi needs to have all kind of different qualities, and they go to a rabbi thinking that they'll receive those qualities. For instance, you have people that look for a rabbi that would inspire them. A rabbi that would inspire them, that's called a rabbi. This is the definition of a rabbi. You go and there are speakers today, many different speakers, that can really, inspire you. You really listen to them and you feel inspired. That's very nice. That's a speaker. It doesn't have to be a rabbi. It could be a rabbi that inspires you. But For that, you don't need to be a rabbi. That you need to be a speaker. You have somebody else that would deal with all kind of, let's say you have problems, somebody has problem with his children. So he needs to deal with the children, how to speak to the children. He could have a rabbi also qualities, but somebody that deals with children is somebody that knows chinuch. Chinuch doesn't have to be necessarily a rabbi. So you can go to somebody who's totally not learned in the Torah, and he also can give you some advice in chinuch. You have somebody else that really needs to, you need to have a good feeling. You know, you feel depressed, you feel unhappy, you feel the blues. So you go to somebody that can speak to you, make you feel better, cheer you up, and lead you to the happiness. That's very nice. But it doesn't mean that that is somebody who's a rabbi. Rabbi could be somebody also that you go into his shul. That's somebody that you relate to. A rabbi could have some kind of quality of being posek halacha. And that is something that we really need to touch on. Posek halacha is something very important. You have a question in halacha. You need to have somebody you can relate to, you can speak to, you can call up and get an answer to your question. It needs to be something that really would satisfy the question that you ask. And that is what we need to differentiate, because there's a lot of confusion out there. What is a rabbi? A rabbi is not necessarily somebody that would inspire you. Inspire you is a speaker, as we spoke before. A rabbi is not necessarily somebody that will calm you down. A rabbi is not somebody that you can go to and learn with him something. It could be that somebody that learned a little bit, you can sit in shul, and he'll teach you. I see that sometimes classes that you have a balabait that learned a little bit more than the other balei batim, and he sits down and he explains to them the study that he studied. He opened up something, he opens up a chumash, and he explains to them, and he talks to them. It's very nice. They learn together. But that doesn't make him into a rabbi. A rabbi is something more than that. A rabbi that you're looking for, and first you need to know, what do you need? What are your needs? When you go to the rabbi, what are your needs? You go to a lecture, you want to be inspired? Very nice. That's not a rabbi. That's you trying to be inspired. When you come to a rabbi, that's somebody that can help you out with things that have to do with the Torah, can instruct you in the Torah in the right way. Now, most of the things that we're dealing with when we're speaking about the Torah are somehow related to halacha. And therefore, you need to be speaking to somebody that has some kind of knowledge in halacha. And the more he has that knowledge, the more you're likely to get a true answer. And that's something that we found very important. In our parasha, we see that Moshe Rabbeinu was the rabbi of Bezalel. Bezalel, with all his wisdom, had a rabbi. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. We see it in our parasha. In our parasha, Parashat Pikudei, Moshe Rabbeinu instructs Bezalel what to do. He tells him the following. Says Rashi, right in the beginning of the psukim in the Torah, it says in the Chumash, ובצלאל בן אורי בן חור למטה יהודה עשה את כל אשר ציווה אדוני את משה. What does that mean? Rashi points out, it's a Gemara in Brachot, it doesn't say over here that he did what Moshe told him. Moshe instructed him. He gave him instructions how to build the Mishkan, but he didn't do what Moshe told him. Rather, he did what a Kadosh Baruch Hu instructed Moshe. So Rashi points on that and it says, Asher tzivah oto Moshe en ktiv kan. It doesn't say what Moshe Rabbeinu instructed Bezalel. Ela kol asher tzivah Hashem et Moshe. Whatever Hashem commanded Moshe. אפילו דברים שלא אמר לו רבו, הסכים על דעתו למה שנאמר למשה בסיני. He himself was able to pick what Moshe Rabbeinu heard in Har Sinai, without hearing it from Moshe himself. כי משה ציווה לבצלאל לעשות תחילה כלים, ואחר כך משכן. When Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to Bezalel, he told him, look, first build the kelim, the aron, the shulchan, the mizbeach, build all these things, and then build the mishkan. Then you do the house. Bezalel said to him, אמר לו בצלאל, מנהג העולם לעשות, the minhag, the custom of people is to first build the house, and then put in there the kelim. אמר לו, Moshe Rabbeinu answers him, That's correct. That's the way I heard it from הקדוש ברוך הוא. כך שמעתי מפי הקדוש ברוך הוא. אמר לו משה, בצל כל היית, כי בוודאי כך ציווה לי הקדוש ברוך הוא. This is what Hashem commanded me. But if that's what Hashem commanded him, so why did he need Betzalel to give him a reason? He should have said, apparently it seems to me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded you differently. But he said no, he said a reasoning. He said over here, you know what, it makes more sense to do like everybody else does. First you build a house and then you put the furniture inside. Then you put everything inside. Why did he need to say the reasoning? The answer is that a real student and a real rabbi are such that, this is how the Baalei Musar explain, that if you want to know what's a real student and what's a real rabbi, is when you get to teach your student in such a way that when he's by himself, when he doesn't know what the answer to the question is, and the question is represented to him, he would know how to be mechaven to the emet. He would know how to answer you exactly correctly. And over here, it's even a level higher than that. It's not like you had to figure out what to do first, the house or the furniture, the kelim or the mishkan. No, Betzalel was in the dark over here and he needed to figure that out. He was even instructed differently from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu told him the opposite. But Betzalel knew that when the rabbi speaks to him, he really means something else. To that level, if a person reaches that level already, imagine what a good relationship of a student and a rabbi is built over here. That's something that's very nice. So therefore, we're talking over here on different levels. First, you need to know that you need to connect. When you choose yourself a rabbi, you need to know what are you looking for in a rabbi. And once you chose a rabbi with the things that you need somebody that's going to teach you Gemara. That's what you need right now. That rabbi will teach you Gemara. Don't go to him for other things. If he also has qualities that can teach you other things, wonderful. If not, learn from him Gemara. But connect with him and learn with him and take out as much as you can. Just like we see that Yeshua was nar lo yamish mitoch ha'ohel. He was connected with Moshe Rabbeinu. A real student would be connected to his rabbi constantly and learn from him so much that when he's on his own, he would say, oh, this is what my rabbi would do in such a scenario, in such a place. And that is a real student, and that is a real relationship between a rabbi and a student. You know that when you go to ask a rabbi a question, you ask him a halacha. You need to know really who you're asking from. Because if he's not somebody who's really knowledgeable in the halacha, you shouldn't ask and he shouldn't answer. The halacha says that if you ask the rabbi a question, and he told you a wrong answer, who's really at fault when he gave you the wrong answer? If he's such a rabbi that's baki, he's knowledgeable in the topic you asked him, and he gave you the wrong answer, the halacha brings down, this is Magen Avraham in Shin Yud Chet Gimel, that it is at fault for that. But some people say, I hear that many times, that you know what, I asked, the rabbi told me something, I don't care any more than that. Whatever he told me, that's what I'm doing. If it's wrong, it's on him, not on me. But that is wrong, because the halacha looks at it like you were also at fault at the level of shogeg. You mistakenly at fault, which means shogeg is also a sin. If you ask the rabbi and he, for some reason, directed you in a wrong way, so therefore you also have some kind of fault. But says the Tzemach Tzedek, Ahav Levafele, in Tshuvot Tzemach Tzedek, brought down in, by the way, in Pitchei Tshuva, Yored Yad Tzadik Tet, he brings that if you ask a rabbi that's not knowledgeable in the topic, let's say it's a halacha, so he says, if im sha'al me'alomdim velo me'aposkim ha'mefursamim, you went to yeshiva, you got somebody who's learning, and you asked him a question. That is already not at the level of shogeg, that is a level of mezid, because you made such a crucial mistake asking somebody that's not his specialty. And that is so for everything else. You're going to ask somebody something, you have to know if he specializes at that topic. This is the way that the Shulchan Aruch is posek from the Gemara, that a rabbi that doesn't know, he's not igia leora'ah, and he's more ora'ah, and he teaches ora'ah, he's posek ora'ah, that is something that's called gas ruach, שוטה רשע וגס רוח. This is how the Shulchan Aruch brings down הלכה למעשה in סימן רמ"ב י"ג, תלמיד שלא הגיע להוראה ומורה, הרי זה שוטה רשע וגס רוח. ועליו נאמר, רבים חללים מפילה. Such strong words from the Shulchan Aruch. It's a Gemara, actually it's a Mishnah in Avot. The Mishnah in Avot says, הגס ליבו בהוראה, הרי הוא שוטה רשע וגס רוח. You know, the Rama brings down from the Rambam that those is referring to התלמידים הקטנים הקופצים לאורות, ולשב בראש להתגדל בפני עמי הארץ. ומרבים מחלוקת, מחריבים העולם, ומכבים נרה של תורה. When you have somebody that didn't reach that level, is still young. You have today, you know, this is how the Or LeTzion writes. He says the following, Lashon Or LeTzion. He says, הדור הזה כל כך משונה, this generation is so strange, says the Or LeTzion. הצעירים פוסקים הלכות. You have youngsters, teenagers, sometimes in their 20s, that already פוסק הלכות. ומורים הוראות ברבים, and they give their הוראה, they give their פסק to the public as well. ואם המדובר בהלכות פרטיות, מילא. You know what? Somebody came to him personally and asked him a question, that's one problem. That's one problem. At least it was מכשיל only one person. אבל הבעיה היותר גדולה, says אור לציון, שפוסקים הלכות כלליות, זה גרוע מאוד. These people go ahead in public and they say הלכות. Today, with the media, you have all kind of different youngsters that teach halachot. Halachot is not their department. Those youngsters should be at the level of inspiring speakers, if anything. Which means you want to be inspired from such a speaker, fine. Being inspired doesn't damage you in any way. But they become poskim, says the Or LeTzion, that's wrong. This is what the halakha brings down. Rabim chalalim mipila. That's something that's not permitted. You're not allowed to do such a thing. And when you take a look, Chazon Ish, he brings it out beautifully. I want to read it to you. Chazon Ish says that if you want to know what's the greatest ma'ala in Torah, he says the following. הנה קיבוץ המעלות ומעשים הטובים שמתייחדים באדם אחד, מתחלפים בשימוש הלשון משם הפעולה לשם התואר. Many times when you name somebody, you give him a title. What's the title you're giving somebody that you feel that is very elevated? Shem Tzaddik, Chassid, Chacham. You want to praise somebody. You want to praise a rabbi. You say, such a Chassid, such a Tzaddik, such a Chacham. Everybody gets excited. Wow, we have somebody like that around. That's beautiful. שהאדם המתואר באחד השמות האלו יעיד עליו שמו על התמדתו במעשים טובים, תמידות אמיתית, ויחד את מרצו ומגמתו לשמירת הטוב לברוח מהרע. That would give you some kind of idea on that person. You say that it's a tzaddik. Wow, tzaddik. He's so righteous. He does good things. Beautiful. says the Chazon Ish, הנה מן התורה מן הנביאים ומן הכתובים מדבר חז"ל כי שם צדיק, חסיד, חכם יונח על איש רום המעלה. If you take a look at the Torah gives those titles to people that are in the highest level. רום המעלה, like יוסף הצדיק. You're talking about the highest of the highest. אהוב לפני המקום, בחיר האנושיות על פני חלד, ואם נחקורה ונמצאה את הנמצאים בו מן המעלות והגדולות אשר הנחילו את שם אהוב לפניו, אז נדע את הדרך האהובה לפניו יתברך שיתנהג באדם. If you want to know what's the highest title, what's the best title, what should one be seeking? That would be the highest thing that one should seek. Let's see. He says the following. Before he explains that, he says that you know that the Gemara brings down the pasuk, Et Hashem Elokecha Tira. There was a rabbi, his name was Nehemiah HaMsoni. And he was doresh kol etim shebatorah. Every time it says et, he was giving a derasha to compare to that is spoken about. So therefore, whenever there was an et, he added that comes to add something. It comes to bring out something. When he came to the pasuk et Hashem Elokecha Tira, he refused to learn anything from it. And he retracted all the other teaching that he had. Why? Because you can't compare anything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Et Hashem Elokecha Tira. If you say that you're comparing with the et somebody to Hashem, that means you have to fear somebody like you fear Hashem. There's nobody in the world that you can fear as you fear Hashem. Hashem is above everybody. עד שבא רבי עקיבא ודרש את השם אלוקיך תירא, אלו תלמידי חכמים. Talmidei Chachamim, says the Gemara, this is how Rabbi Akiva teaches us, has to be feared, has to be respected, has to be loved, as the Rambam says, as much as you do to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You fear et Hashem Elokecha tira. It speaks about fear. You fear Hashem, same way you should fear a Talmid Chacham. A Talmid Chacham comes into the room, we feel as a person just like us. Maybe he knows a little bit more. No. If a real Talmid Chacham comes into the room, we have to have fear. That's the command of the Torah. Et Hashem Elokecha tira lerabot Talmidei Chachamim. So if you want to know what's the highest of all, says the Chazon Ish in Emunah U'Bitachon Perek Gimel, few places in the Gemara that we see that the highest is a Talmid Chacham that could teach you halachot. And that is somebody that you try to connect to, somebody that you try to learn from. And he says in the Gemara, in Orayot Yud Bet, over there the Gemara brings down that Rav Huna, Bre de Rav Natan, answered a certain Gemara. He explained to him a certain halacha to Rav Papa. And when he answered him that, Rav Papa got so excited, he kissed him on his head and he gave him his daughter. Says the Chazon Ish, you see that he wasn't excited from him being a tzaddik, from being somebody very special, from being somebody that goes extra to the mikveh and being always doing all kind of different sigufim or whatever it takes for us to feel somebody is a tzaddik. No. Just by knowing halacha, that was a hard thing for him to understand. That was the highest level. He kissed him on his head, he gave him his daughter. And this is how the Chazon Ish beautifully puts it down. הנה מסרו לנו קדושת נפשו של רב פאפה אשר נפשו והוריי תחדו. His soul and the Torah is connected to be one. ואהבת התורה של הלכה אחת. He saw one halacha. The love that he got for the Torah. One halacha took him out of his state of mind and he got so excited. הוציאתו משוויון הנפש לתגבורת ההתפעלות והתלהבות ונשקו על ראשו והיהיב לברתה. And he gave him his daughter to marry. For one halacha that he knew. And this is how the Gemara continues and says. Another Gemara. The Gemara brings down that in Kiddushin Memtet, Shani Talmid, if a person wants to marry a woman, he says to her, I'm marrying you on condition that I'm a Talmid. So the Gemara says he doesn't have to be in the level of Ben Azai, Al Menat Shani Chacham, doesn't have to be on the level of Chachmei Yavne. Rather, Rabbi Akiva v'chaverav, which means, says the Chazon Ish, who's on the highest level? You don't have to be like Ben Azai. Ben Azai was the highest of all. What was the specialty of Ben Azai? Says the Chazon Ish, specialty of Ben Azai was halacha. בכולו נטפלו תלמידיו אחרי החזתן על שעת הרחבת דעתן לשואלם דבר הלכה. And he said, Ben Azai said, Hareni keben. Whenever you wanted to know halacha, you would say, Hareni keben Azai. I'm today like Ben Azai. Anybody that has halacha to ask, come and ask me. The Chazon Ish brings more and more proofs to show that whenever the Gemara wants to elevate somebody, wants to show how special somebody is, what did he take? What did the Gemara take as an example of the highest of all? If somebody knew a halacha. So let's conclude what we're trying to say over here. When we're dealing with our parashiyot, we see that there's depth into depth. When we're dealing with a rabbi, it's not any different. We look at a rabbi, and we look at him as a regular person that probably knows a little bit more Torah than I do. Chazon Ish says, no, that's wrong. Chazon Ish in the Igrot writes beautifully. He says that to our eyes, that rabbis that you saw, that rabbi that's in your shul, praying in your shul, he looks to you like a regular person. If he's a Talmid Chacham, he's not a regular person. Says the Chazon Ish, he's a real malach. He's an angel. He looks to you like a person. In your eyes you see a person. Just like we see that Betzalel was building over here, pieces of wood, pieces of gold. But really in reality there's much more in there. It wasn't a regular building. It wasn't a building of wood and gold. Much more spirituality than physical. Same thing with that rabbi. The person that you think, says the Chazon Ish, looks to you like a regular person. He's not. He's really a malach, an angel. And therefore, when we're dealing with such a person, you need to know, when we speak to him, what do we want from him? Does he specialize in such things? There used to be a rabbi that specializes in everything. There was a rabbi in the name of, he was the son of the Khatam Sofer. His name was Rav Shimon Krakow. Rav Shimon Krakow came to a city, in Krakow, and he wanted to be a rabbi there. So the minhag was in Krakow that they would gather the whole entire city, and the rabbi that wants to, is a candidate to become the rabbi of the city, would give a drasha, would give a halacha shiur, a drasha, and then there was always a couple of people in the crowd that would always attack him with questions, very, very deep and very, very hard questions that he wouldn't be able to answer. You always can find things that a person would not be able to answer. So they would attack the rabbi, ask him a question, and he would get stuck. Since he would get stuck, he would, the people of the town would say, no, he's not qualified to be a rabbi. And they would try another one and another one and another one. When Rav Shimon came, the son of the Khatam Sofer, he understood already. He saw from what's going on that you have over here people that are always trying to hurt and trying to make sure that the rabbi that's trying to get the position would not be qualified. So he started off the Rasha the following way. He told them that you need to know that my father, the Khatam Sofer, gave me one time the Shem HaMeforash. Khatam Sofer had a story with a butcher that the butcher was found to feed people trefot, non-kosher. And when he sent the messenger to that butcher, he came once and he came twice to tell the butcher that he should come in front of the Khatam Sofer in order to explain his maasim. How did he do such a thing? Eventually he told him that if you come one more time, the butcher said to the messenger, I'm going to beat you up. And he did so. When he came to ask the third time that he should come in front of the Khatam Sofer, he started beating him up. He came back home. So the Khatam Sofer says to his son, you go now. Go to the butcher and tell him to come. So his son, Rav Shimon, said to him, I can't. He's going to beat me up just like he beat the messenger. He told him, Khatam Sofer, don't worry. I'll give you Shem HaMeforash. I'll give you the Shem of Hashem. If he tries to hurt you, you say the Shem Hashem, and you see what happens. So exactly that way it was. He went over there, the butcher got very angry, he said Shem Hashem, and he died on the spot. So the son of the Khatam Sofer says to the crowd, says to the people, and you should know that I still know the Shem HaMeforash. And everybody were quiet the whole time. This was at the time of the Khatam Sofer. Rabbis would know everything. Today, you need to know a rabbi knows A, B, C, specializes in some things, not everything. Try to find what you need and go to that rabbi that gives you that you need. And don't try to ask from him to go and teach you or lead you in places and ways that he's not specializing. Rabbis should be knowledgeable in halakha, in Torah, and that is his specialty. If you want to be inspired and your rabbi is not inspiring, it doesn't mean in any way that he's not a rabbi. Today we feel, and that is something that I see over and over again, that a rabbi that inspires people, people call him Gadol Ador. Many of them don't even know how to learn Gemara. It doesn't mean anything. He knows how to inspire people. Doesn't make him into a rabbi. A rabbi is somebody that's knowledgeable in Torah, and therefore, if you have such a person, cherish it. The Gemara says that if you have such a rabbi, don't let him go. You should learn from him. The Gemara says all kinds of stories how people followed the rabbis to places they shouldn't have. They went with him into private places to learn from him. And the rabbi got angry. What are you doing here? It says, Torahi velilmod ani tzarich. If that is the reason we're doing things, that is something that's considered a real Talmid, and this way we'll get also a real rabbi. Thank you for coming today. Chazaq v'baruch.